so much for joining for today's workshop. We'll be beginning in a few minutes. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining in for this rerun of the Psychology of Dreams workshop. As there was an overwhelming response to it the last time and we couldn't accommodate everyone, we decided to conduct it again on popular demand. Before we begin, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Harshita Jani, and I've worked full time as a psychologist here at Mindtribe. I have a master's degree in psychology, and I've worked with clients with concerns like anxiety, stress, overthinking, depression, relationship issues, and dysfunctional family relationships. The purpose of this workshop is to give you an insight into the world of dreams, enhance your understanding of it, and provide you with some tools to improve your sleep hygiene. So please feel free to grab a piece of paper and pen to make notes. And hope you all can take a moment to listen to this presentation. Before we begin, I'd like to make a disclaimer. This presentation is an intellectual property of Mindtribe, and this presentation is copyrighted by Mindtribe. So you're not permitted to video record this presentation, and you're not permitted to take photographs or screenshots of any slides. You can make notes of the same, so feel free to make notes for that. Also, this workshop is being recorded, so your audio will be recorded. So if you wish to not want that, so you can feel free to put it in the chat box, whatever questions or concerns or whatever input you have in the chat box instead of unmuting yourself. All right. So let us begin by a short quiz to understand your sleep quality, right? So the question is, do you have trouble falling asleep? So if you have trouble falling asleep always, you can put a score of 3. If you have a trouble falling asleep sometimes, you can put in a score of 2. And if you have trouble falling asleep never, put a score of 1. Right. 2, 3, 2. All right. Great. So you can add up your scores and we'll see what the results are. Right. So the next question is, do you have trouble staying awake during the day? Always, sometimes, never. Put in 3, 2, or 1 accordingly. Right? Make the note of this score. Then the third question is, how often do you not feel rested when you first wake up in the morning? Is it always? Do you have trouble feeling rested sometimes, or is it never? 3, 2, yes, all right, sometimes. Okay. Then how often do you not get the amount of sleep that you needed? Is it always, sometimes, never? Right, 3, 2, okay. All right, great. The next question, do you take naps that are 5 minutes or longer during the day? Three, 1, right? 1, okay. Do you feel that your sleep was not quiet? That is, you're feeling tense or you're moving restlessly or can't get comfortable? Is it always, sometimes, never? Okay. 2, 3, 2. All right. Now, let us move on to the next question. Do you awaken short of breath or with a headache in the morning? Okay. Right. Okay. Okay. Do you awaken in the middle of the night and have trouble falling asleep? Put in the scores. 2. Okay. Okay. All right. Then do you snore when you sleep? Right. Okay. All right. How often do you have a dreamless sleep wherein you never dream? Okay. A lot of people saying always. Okay. Sometimes. All right. Now that we have covered all the questions, please add up all your scores to see the total and put it in the chat box to see, for me to get an understanding of what is the sleep quality of the audience, the participants of this workshop here? 19, 18, 18, 19, 19, right, right, 18, 17, right. So a lot of people have a moderate sleep quality here in this audience. So according to the result of this, you have a moderate sleep quality, and you would need to make minor lifestyle changes in order to improve your sleep quality. I hope everybody make a note of the same, and we can move ahead. Give me a thumbs up if everybody is ready to move ahead. Alright, then let us move on to the next thing. Right, so why do we dream? What do you guys think? What is the purpose of our dreams? Uh, Actually, the quiz is only available during the workshop. We won't be able to send it across in the group. So if you want me to go back to the questions and you want to make a note of it, I can do that. Would that be okay? All right. Then, right, our mind is not at rest. What else? Why do you guys think we dream? Some constant thought, processing emotions. Right. Anybody else? Brain stays conscious. What we try to suppress in our day-to-day life comes out in our dreams. Yes, all of you all are correct. So let us look at this in detail. So the first thing that our dreams consolidate our memory by organizing and integrating the new information that we've learned throughout the day with existing knowledge that we already possess. So during our rapid eye movement sleep, that is REM sleep, our brain replays and strengthens the neural connections that we have that are formed during the day to help in our long-term memory storage. Now, the second thing that our dreams help us is in processing emotions. So they allow us to work through our unresolved feelings and experiences, and they provide us a safe space to explore and understand our emotional responses in our waking life. The third thing that dreams help us is to understand our deepest desires and express them in our sleep. They often bring to the surface our hidden wishes and allowing us to explore the scenarios and the outcomes that we have throughout our waking life. Then the dreams can also help us practice and confront our potential dangers. By stimulating threatening situations, our brain help us in developing strategies and responses that could be really helpful for us in real life challenges to enhance our ability to handle stress and uncertainty. Now we look at a case study to understand how our dreams help us and what is the purpose of dreams. So, in this case study, a 25-year-old Sanjana lost her father due to a sudden health issue more than 2 years ago. However, she mentions that her father appears in her dreams very often, but she can only dream about the funeral and the period immediately after his death. The client mentions that she doesn't want to fixate on the bad parts and wants to remember the cherished moments with her father instead. Sandana is still in the process of grieving and has not processed the death of her father, which is why the recurring theme of death is there in her dreams. So what do you think is happening from the things that we've learned in the previous slide? What do you think is the purpose of the themes of her dreams? You can feel free to unmute or put it in the chat. Right. Ashna says her subconscious is processing the emotions. Correct. The purpose of her dreams is to help her process the emotions that she has not been processing in her waking life. And this is occurring because of that. Right. Avni also says process the emotions. Correct. This is helping her process the emotions. All right. So now let us look at something really interesting. So, what do our dreams even mean? So, different psychologists have their own theories on what the dreams mean. So, Sigmund Freud believed that the dreams represent our unconscious wishes And he suggested that the dreams allows us to fulfill the desires and express the thoughts that we might be not able to acknowledge while we're awake. In contrast, William Domnoff posited that dreams are a reflection of our waking life. According to him, the content of our dreams is often linked to our daily experiences, our everyday thoughts, and our concerns. Now, Carl Jung offered another perspective wherein he suggested that the dreams compensate for the underdeveloped parts of our psyche. He believed that the dreams balance our conscious and unconscious mind by bringing forward the aspects of our personality that we might neglect in our waking life. Then Calvin Hall viewed the dreams as part of a cognitive process. He argued that dreams are a way for the brain to process information, solve problems, and think through our issues, similar to our waking cognitive functions. So these are the different perspectives highlighted by the different psychologists, indicating the different complexities of dreams and understanding its potential meanings. So now let's look into the detail about Freud's theory of dreams. So Freud's theory of dreams included the concepts of latent content and manifest content. So manifest content is the actual storyline, the surface level story of our dreams and the imagery of the dream that our dreamer remembers upon his waking life. It is the surface level literal content of the dream. So it could be disguising the latent content, which is I had a dream that I was falling. Now, the latent content, on the other hand, is the hidden underlying meaning of the dream. This includes the unconscious desires, the unconscious thoughts and motivations that the manifest content, that is the storyline, the overall theme of the dream, which symbolizes the latent content. For example, imagine that someone has a dream about climbing a tall mountain. So the manifest content, that is a surface level idea of the storyline, is the act of climbing the mountain. However, the latent content might represent the dreamer's desire to overcome obstacles in his life or achieve a significant goal. So Freud believed that by analyzing the latent content, one could uncover the unconscious wishes and fears that are driving the dream. Right? So, for example, it could be there is a fear of height or loss of control in life, which can be represented as latent content in manifest dreams that symbolize something else. Right? So, now let us understand some fun facts about dreams. So, here are some fun facts of dreams. People often dream in soft pastel colors. Dreams are not completely black and white in nature. Animals also dream, but they dream differently. We don't really understand how and what their dreams look like, but they also have the similar type of sleep cycle. So we understand that animals also dream. When 95% of our dreams are quickly forgotten, we don't remember most of our dreams upon waking up. Then most of the population on Earth experiences negative emotions in their dreams instead of positive ones. And these negative emotions often include feelings of anxiety and stress. Then there's, the dream time. You often only dream for 2 hours per night and not more than that. We may not remember, but everyone dreams about 3 to 6 times per night. It is thought that each dream lasts between 5 to 20 minutes. Dreaming can help you learn and develop long-term memories like we discussed. And blind people dream more with other sensory components compared to people with sight. Right? So now let us look at the deeper understanding of how the anatomy of brain and the anatomy of sleep works. So this is a diagram of the brain and how all the different components of our brain come together to help us in sleep and creating our dreams. So the amygdala and the hippocampus become active in the first part. So when we dream, especially during the rapid eye movement sleep, there are several parts of the brain that become active. The amygdala, which is involved in processing our emotions, and the hippocampus, that is crucial for memory formation, they both show increased activity in our brain. So this heightened activity helps us explain why the dreams often have really strong emotional content and can incorporate elements from our dreams, right? Then there's different parts of the brain stem that are involved, like the pons and the medulla, and they are also highly active during our REM sleep. The pons, for example, plays a key role in triggering the REM sleep cycle and helps regulate the signals that lead to dreaming. So while other parts of the brainstem control like basic bodily functions like our heart rate and breathing, which remain stable even as we dream. Then there's the forebrain. The forebrain is the prefrontal cortex, which plays a significant role in giving meaning to the random signals generated by the brainstem. So the brainstem activates the various neural circuits that produce the random images and sensations that we see in the dreams. The forebrain. Okay, there's a question here. Yes. Function of the amygdala and hippocampus. Yes. So the amygdala is the emotional center of our brain. So the amygdala is responsible for the emotional content of our dreams, and the hippocampus is responsible for the memory part. So the both come together to give the heightened emotional content of our dreams, that is the amygdala, as well as the hippocampus is the memory formation. That is why things that we've experienced in our past can have a link to the dreams, and the storyline can include the things that we've experienced previously. uh, does that make sense? Right. So I was explaining the forebrain. So in the forebrain, that is the prefrontal cortex, that is our forehead. If you can imagine the forehead being the prefrontal cortex, the brain that's behind that, it plays a significant role in giving the meaning of the random neural signals generated by the brainstem. The brainstem activates the neural circuits that produce the images and sensations that we feel in the dreams. So the forebrain attempts to organize these into coherent narratives and stories, resulting in the structured dreams that we experience. So the integration of the signals is what allows our dreams to have storylines and meaning rather than it just being random and chaotic. Right? So now we look at the sleep cycle and how the different stages of sleep work and how dreams occur in which stage. So, this is the sleep cycle that we have. The first stage is the drowsy stage. This is when you're just about to fall asleep and it lasts for just a couple of minutes. And then the second stage you go into is light sleep, which lasts for about 20 minutes. Your body starts to relax and your heart rate slows down. Then there's a transition stage called the third stage of moderate sleep, wherein you are transitioning into a more deeper sleep state and it lasts for a couple of minutes. Then there's the deep sleep, that is the fourth stage, which lasts for about 30. Okay, Bhuvi, yes. Please unmute yourself.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So, if I want to take a nap, power nap.
Right.
So, how can I take that? Um, if I just want to rest for just 5 to 10 minutes, so how can I get ready for that?
Get ready for what exactly? For the sleep?
For the power nap.
For the power nap. How do you get ready for it?
Yeah.
As in
Yeah.
how your brain works in that situation?
No. Um. How can I make myself ready for that? If I want to take a nap anytime, then
Actually, your body would signal you if you need a nap. It's
how can I just be ready for that?
right. I'm not sure how you can prepare yourself for a
Hello?
nap. Am I audible?
Hello? I mostly feel okay.
Am I audible now, Bhuvi?
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Yes. So I'm not sure how you can prepare yourself for a nap.
Yes, ma'am.
Usually, you can create conditions that are conducive to the sleep, like making your environment cooler, putting your curtains up and, making the environment sleep ready, maybe listening to some calm music, etc. But unless your body feels drowsy and wants to rest, I don't think you can force it into sleeping and taking a power nap. Right. So there's another question. Ashna asks, till which stage does one get in the 15 minutes? Right. So typically you don't often dream while you're napping unless it's a long nap. So you often reach the stage 2 of the sleep cycle, that is till the 20-minute. And if it's even a shorter period of nap, maybe you reach the stage 1 of it. Thank you so much. All right. So, as you were discussing the sleep cycle, we were talking about the deep sleep stage. So, this is the stage wherein it is really hard for us to wake up from, and it lasts for about 30 minutes. This is the period of sleep wherein your body repairs itself and builds energy. This is how, people talk about your body repairing itself while you sleep. This is the stage of sleep wherein your body repairs itself, and your immune system and everything that is supposed to be repaired, it gets repaired in this sleep stage. Then the final stage is the REM sleep, that is stage 5, the rapid eye movement sleep. This is the stage where the dreaming occurs. Your brain is very active in this stage, your eyes move quickly, and your body is mostly paralyzed. This stage happens for about 90 minutes after you fall asleep and gets longer with each cycle throughout the night. And each cycle lasts for about 90 minutes, and we go through several cycles each night. Right. Someone's asking, is it important to take a nap once in a while during the day to ensure efficiency and productivity? So if you feel that it is necessary for your body to need that nap, and if you feel like taking a nap helps you, be more productive and efficient through the rest of the day, do take a nap. But it's not really a compulsion. But if your body needs the nap, do take it. Right. What if a person never experiences REM sleep? We'll come to that in the coming few slides. It's often a sleep disorder or something, some other sort of mental health issue that is resulting in the lack of REM sleep. All right. So now let's move ahead. Now let us understand what REM sleep actually is. So, REM sleep happens about 90 minutes into the sleep, as I said, after the person first falls asleep. And it is marked by a number of physiological changes in the body, like muscle relaxation, eye movement, faster breathing rate, increased brain activity, and even sexual arousal. So, these dreams happen during the REM stage of sleep, and this stage of sleep enhances our brain development and improves our memory. So let us now understand how well do you sleep and see what is your understanding of sleep hygiene, right? So now let us look at a few questions. How many hours of sleep on average do you get each night? Is it 1, 4 to 5 hours, 2, 5 to 6 hours, or 3, 7 or more hours? Two, three, one. Right, Suman, please go ahead. Yes, Suman. Would you like to say something? Alright. So a lot of people have answered 2, 3, 1, 7 or more. Okay, that's great. It is ideally recommended for you to sleep for 7 or more hours for you to get proper rest and for your body to recover. Right. Alright. Great. So now let us move. Okay, Pooja. Pooja's, please unmute yourself.
Ma'am,
Yes.
if someone is not getting 7 or more hours sleep,
Right.
so how a person can overcome that?
Alright,
How
we'll
to take a
discuss. Yes, we'll discuss that in the coming few slides about sleep hygiene and how to improve your sleep quality.
okay, ma'am.
Yes.
Sleep, sleep, sleep actually depends on body to body and woman to woman, na? because uh, because every human not belonging to 7 and plus hours is necessary for sleep. Most of people, most of people having enough sleep for 3 to 4 hours.
Right. So we'll discuss how sleep is important and how we can get enough sleep for our body to rest and recover. All right. So the next question: is it easy for you to fall asleep? Is it one always, two sometimes, or three rarely? You sleep, falling asleep is easy for you. Shrishti says two, three, two, three. Right. So a lot of people in this audience has some difficulty falling asleep. Yes, Pooja, please go ahead.
Sorry, ma'am, it was previously.
Okay, no problem. Bhuvi, you wanted to say something?
So yeah, ma'am, I sleep for I guess 4 to 5 hours only,
Right. Okay. And is that,
and
do you feel restful after sleeping that much? Bhuvi, am I audible?
I
I
or
can't. I can't hear you. You're not audible.
I no,
Uh,
I feel
Bhuvi, your audio is cracking. I can't hear you. All right. Um, Niranjana asks, we get dreams on our REM stage sleep, but what if one wakes up in less than an hour with a bad dream and this happens more than once a day? Right. So if you wake up in the middle of the night, in the middle of your sleep, and you have bad dreams, it is often a sign of something of concern, because you are not getting the rest that you require, and waking up in the middle of a sleep cycle often disrupts the entire circadian rhythm, which might lead to this. Just asks, what if we don't sleep at night, but in the morning we manage to sleep during the day, like 4 to 12? It is often recommended that you sleep during the night, and sleeping during the day might affect your body differently unless you're feeling restful and that works for you. Great, but it's often recommended to sleep at night. Right. Shrishti asks, at night, how do we suddenly get startled while sleeping, and why does the sleep get disturbed? There are multiple reasons for it. We'll discuss this in the coming few slides. It's often something that you have, some disturbing emotions that you have. You're feeling anxious or stressed during the day. Because of that, you might feel you wake up in the middle of the night with a startle. Right. Saundarya asks, ma'am, I've heard. Yes, Pooja.
Ma'am, there are some people who do not get dreams.
Right.
And in that, does that mean that they do not, they have a poor sleep pattern, or they do not keep any thoughts while sleeping?
Right. We'll answer the questions at the end, because a lot of people have a lot of comments and we might not be able to complete the presentation. So would it be okay if we take questions at the end? All right. Great. Thank you so much, everyone. Okay, we'll move ahead quickly. Sorry for that interruption. Right. So the next question is, which of the following can promote better sleep? Reading, listening to music before bed, making your bedroom sleep friendly, quiet, comfortable, temperature, dark, and minimal distractions, following a regular sleep routine that includes waking up and going to bed at the same time, or all of the above. What do you guys think? What can promote better sleep? Right, a lot of you all are answering four, two, three, four. Right. So most of you are correct. It is all of the above. Following all these different steps, like reading or listening to music, following a regular sleep routine, making your bed sleep friendly, all of these will help you sleep better. Now, another question for you all. Waking up several times during the night is normal and not a cause for concern. Is it true or false? Yes, definitely. Waking up several times during the night is not normal and is a cause for concern. We'll explore that in the coming slides. Now, your phone will not affect your sleep cycle as long as you turn it off just 15 minutes before bed. Is it true or false? False, right? A lot of people saying false. Right. So, you all are correct. The blue light that your phone emits can boost your attention and reaction time during the day. And but staring at the screen too close will affect your sleep quality and it can wreak havoc on your internal clock. So it is advised to turn off all the electronic devices at least an hour or two before the bed before you want to fall asleep. Yes, Harjas. Yes, it's an hour or two before bed. Alright. So the next question is, which of the following lifestyle factors can interfere with your sleep health? Is it eating too many calories right before bed? Is it smoking, drinking alcohol or caffeine, or all of the above? Raja says four, Bhagishu says four, Shreya says four. Lots of fours. Yes, every one of you is correct. Eating too much food right before bed, or smoking or drinking alcohol and caffeine can interfere with your sleep and can affect your quality of sleep. Great. So now that we have a great understanding of how sleep works, how sleep health is, and how sleep hygiene works, let us look at how to achieve the REM sleep wherein you can dream. Right? So, first step is to establish a bedtime routine that prepares your mind for sleeping. So, developing a calming pre sleep routine that signals your brain that it is time to wind down is important. It can include activities like we discussed previously, reading a book, listening to some music, taking a warm shower, turning off your electronic devices, at least doing this about 30 to 60 minutes before bedtime can give your brain the time to relax and prepare you for sleep. Then the next thing you can do is reduce your nighttime waking by maintaining optimal calm conditions for sleep. These can include keeping the bedroom cool, dark, and quiet, investing in comfortable mattresses and pillows, even using essential oils like lavender can help promote relaxation and improve your sleep quality. Then, avoiding alcohol intake before bed. While a small amount of alcohol can help you fall asleep initially, it can disrupt your sleep patterns and reduce your quality of sleep. Then you can also indulge in activities, aerobic activities like jogging, running, swimming earlier in the day, not too close to the bedtime, which can help you reduce the stress and anxiety that you have and increase the production of serotonin, a neurotransmitter that helps regulate sleep. So you can note down these points and try to incorporate this in your sleep routine and help you improve your REM sleep cycle. Now, how to maintain sleep hygiene? Let us look at few things, right? So, you can get up and go to sleep at the same time. You can create a healthy sleep environment. You can turn off your electronics an hour before bed. Avoid large fatty meals prior to sleeping. Reduce stress by doing meditation or yoga or light stretching. Exercising earlier in the day. Limiting your caffeine intake post sunset, and establishing a nighttime routine, like we discussed, to help you improve your sleep quality and sleep hygiene. Now, let us look at something called the weekly sleep diary. So, this is something you can write it down in your book and fill it in every night before bed so that you can keep a track of how what is affecting your sleep and how you can improve. So the first thing is daytime activities. Make a list of things that you did during the day. You went to college, you went to work, you did chores around the house. Then the length of the physical activity that you did. Maybe you went for a walk, you went to the gym. Note down the length, the time, how much time you spent doing that physical activity. Then note down the daytime mood that you were having. Were you stressed during the day? Were you feeling anxious? Anything that you were feeling, whatever emotions you were feeling during the day, note that down. Then take a note of any naps that you had. So what was the time and length of the nap that you took? Make a note of that. Then as you are filling this right before bed, make a note of the mood you're having at that time. Are you feeling stressed, anxious, anything that you're feeling right before bed? Put that in that sleep diary. Then if you've consumed any alcohol or caffeine during the day, make a note of that as well. Then list any food that you've eaten after 8 p.m. It could be anything that you've eaten post 8 p.m. that you can make a note of. Then if you've used any electronics right before bed, if you're using your mobile phone, your laptop, you're watching TV or something, make a note of that. Then have you done any calming activities before bed? Did you take a bath? Did you meditate? Did you listen to some calming music? Do make a note of that. Then what time did you go to bed? As you're going to bed right before that, make a note of what is the time that you're going to bed. Okay? Do you have a question?
Yeah, I have a question. I'm having a question.
Yes, please go ahead.
Did you hear me?
Yes, yes, you're audible, Shrishti.
Okay. Actually, I'm going to a little stress at night.
Right?
Uh, actually, I haven't had a good sleep schedule,
Right, right.
and I'm distressed due to this.
Mm-hmm. Right. That sounds
So,
like some. That sounds really difficult.
and
What exactly
and
is the question?
also, like bad dreams are always ready to disturb me, or even though sometimes I thought this like these kind of dreams, uh, hallucinations and something like different level of negativity I have got by these by all these.
Right, right. We'll discuss nightmares and how to deal with them in the coming few
Yeah,
slides.
nightmares.
Right.
Actually, sometimes whenever I go to the bedtime, I
Right.
feel like very disappointed and having not a and don't have any proper kind of sleep.
Right, right. So you can make a use of this sleep diary that we're discussing right now and make a note of the emotions that you're feeling. And if you are interested in taking counseling sessions with us, you can book a session and discuss your concerns during that.
Okay. Sometimes I thought that all these
Right. Okay. So we were talking about the sleep diary. So now then there's activities in bed. If you've read a book, you've had sex, or you've did some meditation or light yoga, anything that you did, you can make a note of that. And what time did you turn the lights out? Did you sleep at what time? So
on 12.
filling this every day right before bed throughout the week, you can look at your patterns. You can see what is affecting your sleep and your dreams at night, right? So I hope everybody's made a note of this. uh, Please write it down, as you are not allowed to take any screenshots for the same. Did you guys make a note of it? Can we move ahead? All right, great, thank you. Now let us look at something called the dream journal. So this is what a dream journal looks like. So, what does a dream journal help? It helps us remember our dreams better. It gives us an insight into our suppressed thoughts and emotions, and it helps us identify triggers for our nightmares and night terrors. It also helps a counselor interpret the hidden meaning of your dreams. So, let us look at what this dream journal includes. So, what you have to put in this activity is, as you can see, you can write down the date of the dream, then what happened in the dream, write down the content, the storyline of whatever happened in the dream, then put down what emotions were you feeling in that dream. You are feeling anxious, scared, hurt, whatever emotions you're feeling, you put in that. Then who were the people in the dream? Was it somebody you knew? Write down their names, anything that you remember during the dream. Then is it a recurring dream? You can put in a tick or a cross if this is a recurring dream. And what was your sleep quality like? How do you feel after that? Do you feel rested or do you feel restless? And then put in your interpretation of the dream. What are your thoughts about this dream? You can do this right after waking up so that it is easier for you to recollect whatever dreams you had, the dream contents, and make a note of all of this. So if you are interested in understanding your dreams better and understanding the hidden meaning behind that. You can always keep a note of this, and if you're interested in taking a counseling session, you can have a dream journal that the counselor can use to interpret whatever the meaning of your dreams are. So do make a note of this dream journal. It might be helpful for you to make a note of it and understand what your dreams are about and interpret it better. uh, I hope everybody has made a note of it. Can we move ahead? Nightmares and night terrors are similar terms. They are often interchangeable. We'll discuss them in the next few slides. Did everybody take a note of the dream journal? All right. I think everybody's taken a note of the same. All right. Then we'll move on to nightmares. So, uh, researchers have found that most of our nightmares include physical aggression of some kind of health issues, death, and threats. And fear is not always a necessary part of the nightmares. You can also have emotions like sadness, confusion, guilt, and disgust. So, how do we deal with these nightmares? Imagery can be used to change the ending of your remembered nightmare while you are awake, so that it is no longer threatening to you, and you can then rehearse a new ending in your mind. This is a technique called imagery rehearsal therapy technique, wherein you use your imagery to help reverse and change the ending of your nightmare. So let us see what are the steps of this. The first step of this is to identify the worst moment of your nightmare. So when you wake up from the nightmare, try to recollect the most intense or the most disturbing part of the dream. This is often the moment that is stuck with you and is causing you the most distress. Take a few deep breaths and close your eyes. Try to relive that moment in your mind. Pay attention to where you are, what's the setting, is it a familiar place or a strange one? What you are aware of, what are you seeing, hearing, feeling, what is happening to you or around you in that nightmare, right? Then the next step is to understand what emotions are you feeling in that worst moment, right? Once you've relived the worst moment in the previous step, pay attention to the emotions that you're feeling. Try to identify them specifically. Are you feeling fear, anxiety, sadness, anger, or something else? And where do you feel these emotions in your body? Is it a knot in your stomach? Is it a lump in your throat? Or is it a sense of tension in your shoulders? Just take a few moments to, feel these emotions and allow yourself to fully experience those emotions. Right? So then there's the third step of this. What would you prefer to feel in that moment instead? Now that you've identified the emotion that you're feeling, think about what emotions would you prefer to feel instead of that. So would you prefer to feel calm and peaceful instead of fearful? Now, how would the story need to change for you to feel that way? Right? Once you identified what are the emotions you would prefer instead of the bad emotions, think about how the story would need to change for you to feel that way. Or what would you need to feel calm instead of anxious? Would someone need to be with you in that dream? Would the environment need to be different? If there's somebody you feel safe with, you can imagine them, or an environment, a calm, a forest, or a soothing beach environment, whatever helps you change those emotions from negative to positive. And practicing this technique regularly after you've experienced a nightmare will help you rewrite your nightmares and feel more confident and empowered. Did that make sense to you, or would you like to ask any questions regarding this technique? Right, Bhuvi? Please go ahead.
Not regarding this technique, but I want to know about that technique which in which we have to write about the food we had and before the sleep and the table, I mean.
Right, the dream journal, you mean?
Yes.
Okay.
Before
You,
that, I guess.
the dream diary, the sleep diary.
Yes.
You were not
So,
able to make a note of that?
no, I just want to know, I mean, how will it help me? In
Right.
which way?
Right. So that sleep diary helps you understand your own patterns. Like if you are not, it helps you bring awareness to how you're throughout the day. If anything that you've eaten is affecting you, or if you've done anything in the day that is affecting your sleep, and you can see a pattern throughout the week. So if something is recurring in the week, let's say you are always eating after 8 p.m., and because of that you are always having trouble falling asleep, or you're not getting enough sleep, you can notice a pattern in that, and you can effectively change that by eating earlier in the day, and then seeing if that change that you've made is affecting your sleep and is it making it better. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you, ma'am.
All right, great. Right. Yes, Ashna, would you like to say something?
Yes, ma'am. I have a question regarding this technique. May I
Right.
proceed?
Sure.
Yeah, so you said that remember the worst moment. So,
Right.
for example, there is like a case scenario where a dragon is eating me and there are like
Hmm.
clouds and all. I only remember the clouds and I remember the tail of the dragon, for example. I
Right.
remember the emotion really nicely that, okay, I'm very scared.
Hmm.
So, can this technique still be applied?
Right. So you said that there was a dragon and this was the feeling that you were feeling. You can still imagine, it does not have to be exactly the same thing. As long as you remember what you were experiencing in the dream, and trying to actively change that and change the emotion that you're feeling right after that, because after waking up from a nightmare you're often feeling anxious or stressed or fearful. So consciously taking a deep breath and just rewriting the narrative and changing it to something positive that you are feeling safer and say feeling calmer in, that might help you.
Ma'am, I also have one more question. So
Sure.
sorry.
No
Um,
problem.
For example, I've gone through like three, four dreams in one night, okay? And in the
Right.
second dream, I felt really scared. I know I felt asleep during some time of my sleep, but I don't know exactly where. मुझे बस emotion पता है. I don't
Right.
remember the dream exactly what happened. So then, how does this technique still apply?
Right. So as long as you're able to change the emotion, like let's say you're feeling stressed, you can. This can also be used as a guided imagery technique, wherein you are, taking yourself to a space wherein you feel safe and comfortable, and through that feeling of calmness and the sensations that you are able to evoke through the imagery. Let's say you are imagining yourself at a beach and you're hearing the soothing waves, that might help you bring yourself to calmness, and make yourself more comfortable after feeling the negative emotions of the dream. Great. All right. Right. We'll take the questions at the end, so can we move ahead? There's another technique for this. Right. So this is your story, and you're not limited by your imagination. You can be creative. You can make the story even funnier to help you feel better and make the new story that you're creating stand out more and making it more memorable. Now, what are some relaxation techniques that you can use to deal with a nightmare or a night terror? So the first thing is, 6 ways of grounding yourself. You can use your body, wherein you can lay on the ground, press your toes into the floor, and squeeze as if you're a Play Doh. This might help your body relax and feel grounded. Then you can also use your five senses. You can wear your favorite sweatshirt, something that you're comfortable. Using essential oils, like I mentioned earlier, lavender oil, etc., can help you. Making a cup of tea, using involving your five senses and making things comfortable, maybe with touch or with smell or maybe with taste, help you calm down. Then you can self-soothe yourself by taking a shower or a bath, finding an object that makes you feel grounded, or lighting a candle even. Then observing. You can describe an object that you can see in your surrounding. If you're waking up with a nightmare, you can describe it in detail, like its color, what is its texture, does it have any shadows, what is its light, what is its shapes, what is the shape of the object, like to help you bring you to the present moment and away from the nightmare. Then you can practice breathing exercises like the 478 breathing, wherein you inhale deeply for 4 counts, you hold your breath for 7 counts, and you exhale through the mouth for 8 counts, which will help you calm the nervous system down from the nightmare and help you ground yourself in the present moment. Then you can fill all the square or find all the square objects in your surrounding, or a green object, any color or any shape that you can find in your surroundings. You can find all of the shapes in the room, or you can count to 7, like in sevens, like 7, 14, 21, etc. And then say the date out loud. What is the date? If you say it out aloud, you will recognize that, oh, I am in the present moment, I'm not in the nightmare anymore, I'm here and now, and the nightmare is over. Does that make sense? Have you guys made a note of these grounding techniques? Great. Right. All right. Now let us move on. Let us look at lucid dreams. Very fascinating subject for all of you. So, lucid dreams are when you know that you're dreaming while you're asleep. It's often an experience wherein you feel like you're actually aware of what is happening in your dreams. You're aware that the events flashing through your brain are not actually happening, but it feels like that. Your dream feels very vivid and real, and you may even be able to control how the action in the story unfolds, as if you're the director of a movie in your sleep. Now, now that we've understood what lucid dreams are, let us see how we can have those lucid dreams. So this is the first technique that is called wake back to bed technique, which involves entering into the REM sleep cycle while you are still conscious. So the first step is to set an alarm for 5 hours after your bedtime. So this is important because you want to catch yourself in the middle of the REM sleep, wherein your brain is most active and receptive to having lucid dreams. Make sure you set the alarm consistently every night to train your brain to accept it. And go to sleep as usual after that. When the alarm goes off, stay up for 30 minutes. This is crucial because you want to be able to be conscious and aware of when you are returning to bed. Use this time to do any quiet activity like reading a book, doing some light stretching, listening to some calming music or nature sounds. Then fall back asleep. After the 30 minutes are over and you're done doing the quiet activity, go back to bed and try to fall asleep. You may need to take a few deep breaths, relax your body, and calm your mind, and focus on the intention to have the lucid dream. You can repeat a mantra to yourself like, I will be aware that I'm dreaming, or I will recognize my dreams as lucid. Right? Do you have any questions regarding this technique? Okay, I guess everybody's understood this technique. Nobody has any questions. All right, let us look at another technique that we have. This technique uses the prospective memory and it involves setting the intention to do something later. So, as you're falling asleep, think of a recent dream that you had and try to recall as many details from the dream as possible. Try to relive that dream in your mind. Focus on the sights, the sounds, the emotions that you experience in that dream. And identify a specific element of the dream that stands out to you, like something that is really unusual or illogical. This is called the dream sign, something that's strange in the dream. For example, the ability to fly. We don't normally fly in our day to day life. So, when you are seeing that visual of the ability of flying, you recognize that this is a dream and this is a dream sign. Then, set an intention. Once you've identified the dream sign, that is falling, the ability to fly, think about returning to that dream. Imagine yourself back in the same scenario of that dream with the same sensations and the same emotion that you had in that dream. Tell yourself, the next time I dream, I want to remember that I am dreaming. You can repeat this phrase several times in your mind with conviction. The next time I dream, I want to remember that I'm dreaming. Focus on the feeling of being in the dream and the sensation of having control over your actions. Recite the phrase as you are visualizing. As you continue to relax and fall asleep, repeat the phrase. The next time I dream, I want to remember that I'm dreaming in your mind. Visualize yourself back in the dream with the dream sign present. That is the ability to fly. Imagine yourself saying this out loud in the dream with a sense of confidence and awareness. And as you say this to yourself, slowly and gradually as you fall asleep, you might find yourself being able to control the storyline of the dreams much better. Do you guys have any questions about this technique? Anything that you didn't understand from this technique? I hope you guys made a note of the same. All right. I'm assuming there are no questions. Hope you guys have understood the same. Okay. Now let us look at some common dreams and what they mean. So, have you guys ever had these common dreams like, falling from a building, being chased by somebody, being naked in the public, or failing a test in your exams, losing your teeth, or even flying? Feel free to put it in the chat box. Any of these dreams that you've had. Which ones have you had? Falling. Yes, falling. Right. We'll discuss what each of these mean. Right. Falling. A lot of people mention falling, being chased, falling. Right. Okay. Seems like falling is quite a common theme. Being chased and falling. Falling, failing in an exam, being naked, being chased. Right. So seems like a lot of you have experienced most of these dreams. Let us look at what each of these dreams mean. Right? So, a dream about falling. What do dreams about falling symbolize? So often when we dream about falling, it often, evokes a feeling of insecurity from our waking life or a lack of control that you're experiencing when you're awake and, moving through the day. It can often feel like you're falling because it represents a sense of insecurity or some as you fall down, you don't have a control over the experience. So it symbolizes a lack of control in the day-to-day life. Then there's a dream of being naked in public. So often, what does being naked in public symbolize? It indicates that you're feeling vulnerable or you're feeling fearful of being exposed or judged, right? Then there's dreams about being chased by somebody. So what do they mean? Being chased by someone usually reflects anxiety or avoidance of a situation that you're trying to run away from, or a problem in waking life that is chasing you in the dream. Then there's dreams about losing teeth. Losing teeth may relate to worries about your own appearance, maybe communications issues like as it's related to the mouth, or a sense of powerlessness, like you cannot control the act of losing teeth. Then there are dreams about dying. What do they mean? Dreams about dying often represent a transformation or a change or the end of something in your life rather than a literal fear of death or somebody dying or a prediction of somebody dying. Then dreams about taking a test and failing at that. Often dreams about taking a test might indicate you are fearful of being evaluated or judged and can also reflect, preparation for challenges. Then there's dreams about infidelity. People often have, dreams about somebody cheating on them. This might reveal a feeling of insecurity in the relationship, a fear of betrayal, or concerns about trust in the relationship. Then there's dreams about flying. Dreams about flying often symbolize like a sense of freedom and escape from something in real life. It can represent a desire to rise above a challenge or gain a new perspective on life. Then there's dreams about pregnancy. So dreams about pregnancy don't actually mean that somebody's gonna get pregnant, but it often signifies growth, creativity, the development of new ideas. They can reflect an anticipation for a new project or a new phase in your life or some sort of personal transformation as it is represented by a pregnancy and something new. Right. Yes. Okay. Ashna is asking if I can repeat the meaning of falling. Right. So the dreams about falling often symbolize a feeling of insecurity in your day-to-day life, or a feeling of you are lacking control in your real life. As in, when you're falling down, you don't really have control over your falling. You can't really, you're helpless in the situation. So it often indicates a lack of control that you're feeling in your real life. Does that make sense, Ashna? Great. All right. Akanksha asks, dreaming about one person repeatedly. Right. So this often might indicate that you have some sort of unresolved issues or something that is related to that person. So that is why they might be recurring in your dreams. Dreaming about somebody who's dead. Like, right, we discussed, there are often unresolved emotions and feelings that are not conscious, and they come up in your dreams. So it can often indicate unresolved grief or unprocessed emotions. Right. Sadhana asks, dream about death. Right. We discussed it is often about transformation and change in your real life. It does not literally indicate somebody dying or fear of death. Right. Shikha asks, what about sexual dreams? Right. So it can be unresolved conflicts or unconscious desires that you wish to, uh, that are coming up in the dream because of that. Right. Harleen, please go ahead.
Hi, so if I want to interpret my dreams or nightmares, then
Right.
are there any theories which I can refer to or any books?
Any books or theories? So, like we discussed, there's Carl Jung, there's Sigmund Freud, that we discussed earlier in the session. Those are the most popular ones, the theorists, who have theorized what dreams mean and how they are interpreted.
Like specifically any books?
Specifically,
If
any
you
books?
can. Yeah.
Right. So, can I get back to you? I put it in the chat box.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Thank you.
No problem. Right. Anybody else has any questions?
Hi, I missed out on the explanation on death. Like, say, if you. Hello,
Yes, yes. Sadhana, you're audible.
can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Am I audible, Sadhana?
Hi, am I audible?
Yes, yes, you're audible.
No. I just wanted to ask, like, say, if you have a current, though I understood your explanation and very well at it. Thank you so much. Lovely session.
Thank you so much.
Also, say, if you've had a recurring dream a
Right.
time and again over your life where
Mm-hmm.
particular people are chasing you or hurting you in different forms, they're coming to hurt you,
Hmm.
and you have no idea why, because you don't share that kind of relationship or severe relationship with those people. What
Right.
does that mean? And then
Right.
what challenges you have to face with them? What does that dream mean?
Right.
Second, death. When you're seeing somebody who's close to you dying or
Hmm.
getting really hurt and you're feeling the pain, what does that
Hmm.
mean?
Right. So the first question is that there's a recurring dream of people chasing you, and there's no relation to that in real life to something, right?
Yeah.
So it's often indicative of some fears that you are running away from. But to understand this more in detail, to get context of what your life is like, and understanding the background would make more sense, because interpreting a dream simply on a simple sentence or of one line would be unfair of me. So I think if you wish to get a better understanding of what that dream means, you can always reach out to us and take a free session with us to understand what those dreams mean. The second question about death, so it can often indicate your fear of losing them in real life, which can show up in the dream, or it can represent a transformation or a change that is or the end of something in your real life, instead of actually a literal death occurring or a prediction of something happening.
Scientifically, it's not established that if you're seeing it for a particular person, that means some harm is supposedly coming to that.
Right, right. It is
It,
all indicative of fears and your unresolved emotions surrounding it, more than it being a literal prediction of the future.
and not necessarily around that person. It can also be around generally around that emotion or the idea of losing
Yes,
a loved one.
yes.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Harleen, yes, please go ahead.
Sorry, that was by mistake.
All right, no problem. Does anybody else have any questions? Yes, Sadhna.
Can I ask? Thank you. So, another, sometimes when there is a dream,
Hmm.
say about a happy moment, or with in a very movie-ish kind of scene, a very movie
Hmm.
types of a scene, a
Hmm.
dramatic scene, or
Hmm.
scene which can be either bad or wrong. It's two parts. One, there's a scene and a very brief dream actually within the sleep, which is a happy moment, but you're often not able to see the face of the person. They're
Hmm.
sharing a very happy moment and you can feel it
Hmm.
and actually know what's happening.
Hmm.
What does that mean? And is it something which
Um,
reflects or going to be real or something again a desire? And
right.
B, some dreams were good or bad, which you've answered before then, but I'm just asking, which you remember. Does it mean that actually the dreams which you remember are a part of your subconscious telling you that something is going to happen? Does dream talk to you or predict any future to you?
Right. So
If
the
you clearly remember them and it looks very real, is it
right.
like your subconscious communicating with you?
Right. So often there's not a lot of empirical research behind this, your dreams predicting the future. It's often a coincidence or, a recollection of stories that is probably making you experience that in the future. But it's not scientifically proven that your subconscious is trying to, make you, realize, or maybe this is going to happen in the future. It's often unresolved emotions and wishful thinking and desires that are coming up, not really something that's going to predict the future. And like you mentioned, the happy feelings and not seeing the face of the person, it's often your desire to feel that in real life. Maybe you're not experiencing that emotion in real life, but you wish to experience that. Maybe that is why the subconscious is bringing it up. It would require a lot of interpretation and detail for me to
I
understand.
completely understand.
Right.
But you, as you say, there is no spiritual. I can understand the scientists might have not, but there's no spiritual, say, guide or spiritual philosopher who's established a relationship between dreams and subconscious mind manifesting something.
Right. We're not really, in that philosophical or spiritual zone. We're more scientific driven psychologists. So I don't think we can answer that question right now. Right. There's a question of, is this the end of the workshop? Actually, we're coming to the conclusion itself. Thank you for asking. We're going to talk about dreamless sleeps really quickly. So missing out on the REM sleep could mean that no, you're missing out on dreams. Poor sleep can be a consequence of a health problem or a contributing factor. So, if you're having sleep disorders like insomnia, which is the difficulty falling asleep, it can lead to fatigue, mood disturbances, and trouble concentrating during the day. Then you can also be experiencing sleep apnea that can keep you from entering the REM sleep. Then there's depression, anxiety, and stress, which can also lead to not having dreams. So let us understand why dreams are important. Dreams are a road to the unconscious mind. They also help you understand your repressed worries and emotions. It helps you understand the hidden desires that you're having and that might be causing you conflict in real life. It can help improve the quality of your sleep and the cognitive functions. And it might sometimes lead to aha moments in real life when you dream about something and you join the dots and gain an insight into something, right? So that is the end of the workshop. Thank you so much for being patient and listening to me. If you guys are interested in diving deeper into your dreams and understanding what they mean, you can always take a counseling session with us. We provide counseling sessions from starting from rupees 600 for a 45-minute sessions. If you guys are interested, please reach out to me or anybody from Mind Tribe for taking the counseling session. And we also offer counseling sessions, group therapy, and other mental health resources like this workshop. And if you are interested in, please keep in touch with Mind Tribe official accounts like the social media and the website. And thank you so much for listening to me so patiently and asking such good questions. I hope you guys took away something really, positive from this workshop, and hope to see you guys in further workshops by Mind Tribe. Thank you. Right. I'm assuming there are no other questions